to jump on. There we go, recording in progress. Feel free to watch this after, and you can any questions that you've got, we're going to ask those questions at the end. We will be done by 11 o'clock. And I think it's important to stress that everything I talk about today will be things that you can put into practice right now, right? There will be lots of hints and tips that are either a very small cost attached or no cost at all. Hence the name of the low cost, no cost marketing. Right, Gemma, we're going to kick off. I will look out for people joining and let them in as we go. Well, actually, I think what I'll do, sorry to just, I think I might make you a co-host, Gemma, and then I think you can let people in.
Okay.
I think I can only make you host, which, okay, that's not going to help. Right, don't worry, I'll keep my eye on participants. It's early in the week. Right, so Jason, Basildon Signs and CFC Property Maintenance, thank you very much indeed for coming on. Like I say, I'm going to run through 3 top tips for low cost, no cost marketing, and we will have questions at the end if that's okay. Right, so I've got 3 main tips, and we're going to talk about each of those tips in detail. The important part here is that I've designed them, if you like, to be nice and simple, that every one of you, regardless of what industry you're in or what product or service you offer, you will be able to start implementing, if not some of these, all of these tactics today. Now, when it comes to marketing, I think that it can seem like it's a bit of a minefield, you know, where do you start? And my first tip is all around starting with people that you know. So tip number 1 is the fact that you already know, right, the people that you need to be talking to regularly and often. One of the biggest, not mistakes, but one of the biggest faux pas, if you like, is that we're always trying to find new customers. It seems to be the holy grail. We're always chasing new customers. And I'm going to say, focus on the people that you already know. So have you got yourself a database? Have you got yourself a CRM? It stands for Customer Relationship Management System, otherwise known as a spreadsheet, right? You can keep things on a spreadsheet. However, in this day and age where we've got to be careful of GDPR, looking after people's data, I would urge you to sign up with one of the big CRM companies that are out there. They've all got free to market software or trials. Get on, have a look at them, but ultimately they will store your customers' data safely in the cloud. So that would be my recommendation. A lot of people ask me, what CRM system should I use? And my advice to you is try a few of them and see which one is intuitive to you, because they've all got their own little ways of working. And the most important part of a CRM system is that you find it easy to use. Right, sorry, I'm just muting those that have perhaps got a bit of noise in the background. So find a CRM system that works for you and upload your contacts to it. Now, this is about communicating regularly and often with your database. And I'm not saying that you should email everyone every week, or you should harass them with a letter every week in the post. But the point is that you do need to communicate with your database regularly and often. You need to stay front of mind. Now, not so long ago, you had to be seen or touch your customer base, or someone you would have to have 7 touch points with you before they actually became a customer. With the advent of social media and the internet and us being bombarded with adverts left, right, and center, it actually is more like the high teens, 18, 19, up to even I've heard as much as 23 times that you would need to be in contact with someone before they engage with your services. So you do need to sort of speak to people regularly and often. And you can do this through your CRM, email marketing, and newsletters. So just updating people with what's going on is really important. And all these things are free, okay? You may want to spend some money on getting something designed, but there are loads of free tools out there to help you create content. If the platform itself doesn't, and it will have templates for you to use, and they are really sort of drag and drop and very intuitive these days. And even if they're not, paying somebody to create something for you is very low cost. Now, the other set of people that we often forget about is your staff. Now, I'm sure some of the businesses that I see on the screen here, you will have staff that work for you, or you will have consultants or freelancers that you bring in to work on your business. Make sure that you spend time training people on your products and services. They need to know your business inside and out. They also need to get the proper sales tools. They need to have the ability to be able to share your products and services with people when they meet them. So really make sure that you've given them the sales tools, maybe a nice little brochure or a leaflet or a flyer in order to be able to spread the word about how great your company is. Positive word of mouth from your staff is really important. And what I would, how I would sort of bring this to life is, if one of your members of staff was at a party or on the weekend was at a party or at a festival, and they were to be asked, what do you do for a living, or who do you work for? What would their response be? Would it be, oh, I work for this guy, oh, I'm not really that happy, or, I want to move on? Or will they have all of the information about how the company is performing and what the company does in order to relay a really positive story about you and your brand? So, if you've got staff, just think long and hard about whether or not you've taken the time to explain all of your products and services, and also, what the company is up to. Have you explained why you're doing certain things in order to hit your goals? Don't forget your staff. And the other thing, in terms of being thinking about people that you already know, is a lot of you I see here will be will have geographical neighbours. So you may, I'm sure that maybe Basildon Sign Express are on a trading estate. Well, have you been in to see your neighbours? Do they know that you exist? Do they know what you do? So just make sure that if you're on a high street, that you've gone up and down your local neighbours and introduced yourself in terms of the products and services that you do. You could hand out your brochure or your flyer to them. Do you belong to a business network? I would hope that the majority of you do. I met Gemma through a business network. That's how we met over 6 months ago. So think about joining a business network. Think about maybe your local chamber of commerce. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about networks in a little bit. But don't forget that, the people around you, your neighbors, if you like, they're going to be good voice boxes for your business and your services. And lastly, your friends and family. Like, we seem to, again, perhaps be a little bit bashful or shy when it comes to telling our friends and family what it is that we do. So, when was the last time you had a conversation with your nearest and dearest about what you do? Are they fully aware of all of the products and services that you offer, how successful you are, what your USP is. You know, they love you, right? So, well, maybe they don't, but they're going to want to tell everybody about how great you are. But first of all, you need to make sure that they fully understand what it is that you do. So I hope that is helpful. Let's not forget the people that we already know. Don't neglect them, and don't spend all your time trying to attract new people that are unfamiliar to you. Right. Tip number two. Tip number two is about teaming up. And this is basically what I've done with Gemma today, right? We've met and we've teamed up. So again, find yourself a buddy, right? Or find yourself a good referral partner. So think about who your best referrer is. Is there someone in your business that is constantly referring you work? If so, look at ways in which you can team up together, because ultimately they must like you in order to be referring their trusted partners to you, and they're more likely to refer you again. So think about who your best referrers are. Think about the people who deal with your target market. I mean, it's sort of marketing 101, really, to make sure you've identified your target market. If you haven't, I'd suggest that you do that first of all. But who sort of mixes with your target market? And it will be no surprise to you that Gemma works with small businesses, which are my target market, and hence why I'm doing this webinar today. One thing that's often forgotten are suppliers. So, you know, think about your suppliers. I'm picking on Basildon Signs now, as I can see them on the screen. But you know, who supplies your sort of plastic signs, or do you have a team that go out and do your fitting for you? Have you made sure that you've teamed up with them properly? Are you fully integrated? Also think about some of your customers. Maybe there's a good opportunity within some of your customers to promote you and your services. Think professional services. And again, really with Gemma in terms of bookkeepers, accountants, advisors, financial advisors. I mean, the list is endless, right? The bottom line is, if you know who your target market is, then think about aligning with them and getting close. Now, I put down here social media influencers. And I think what's really important to point out here is I'm not talking about really large, with people with really large followers, all right? I'm referring to micro influencers. So these may be people that don't have millions of followers. Maybe they've just got a few thousand followers. Think about connecting with them. Think about maybe being a guest on their podcast or on their channel. One thing about social media, and a lot of people sort of get caught up on the numbers, and I'm gonna pick on Basildon Signs again, but let's say Basildon Signs went onto TikTok, right, and started doing TikToks that got millions of followers in Florida. I mean, I'm not suggesting that a sign company in Basildon can't supply signs to Florida, but like they're hardly going to be your target market, all right, for buying a local sign off you. So really think logically about that. It's one thing to have millions of views. You know, you only need one view of someone who is in need of a sign in Basildon, as it were. All right, think more about that. Now, the next thing in terms of teaming up is about being the expert. So again, I'm sure that you're the expert in signage making. I'm sure that CFC Property Maintenance do a fantastic job in maintaining properties. I'm not sure what Jason does. It doesn't say in his description, but I'm sure he knows his onions. And the same with Total Sensory. If you can establish yourself as an expert in your field, then doing guest podcasts or webinars or being on other people's channel becomes quite easy. I would always suggest that it's a really good tactic to try and set yourself as an authority within your field, especially when it comes to being found on Google. All right. Make sure that your website is full of really useful content around the subject that you offer. The thing with search engines these days is that more and more they're looking to give the user of the search engine the most accurate suggestions when it comes to search. So by you making sure that your website is full of content around your specialist subject, you've got much more chance of being found organically in search. Maybe you can contribute to someone's newsletter. And one of the nice things about like a guest blog or appearing on someone else's website is that you can get yourself a nice little cheeky backlink. And backlinks, whatever you read in the press, are still very, very important when it comes to your Google ranking. So think about writing an article for a news website, or contributing to maybe Gemma's newsletter, right, that she perhaps posts on her website, and then you can get a backlink back to yours. Don't be afraid to ask for testimonials. And I put on here a hint, because at the end, if you've enjoyed this, I'm going to ask you to write me a testimonial, because it really helped me out. Again, just linking things back to Google and being found organically. Having Google reviews is very important if you want to add a metrics to you being found, your website being found in search. You set this up through the Google business page. And if you haven't already, I would urge you all to go on, search for Google business, and make sure that you have a page there and that it's up to date. It's really quite intuitive. It actually takes you through all of the processes that you need to do to get yourself onto the page. But it is one of the metrics, and included in that is reviews, and you can ask people for reviews, and there's a little link that you can send out. So maybe after you've done a job and you've supplied someone with their sensory needs, you ask them very kindly for a review and provide them with the link so they can do that nice and easily. Just in terms of Google reviews, 25 reviews is the magic number. Once you get over 25 reviews, it adds a lot more gravitas to your Google ranking. And I've got a recent example of this. So one of my customers is a high-end kitchen and bathroom company based in North London. And when I searched for high-end kitchens in this particular area of North London, one company came up higher in the Google rankings than them. And bearing in mind, they've got a bricks and mortar shop. And it was all down to the fact that this company had more Google reviews. This company didn't even have a website. Right? So a company that did have a website with less reviews came lower in the ranking than a company that didn't have a website but had more reviews, right? So that just goes to show how important Google reviews are. Think about incentivizing or encouraging these recommendations from others. Some network groups really do encourage, active referrals, but, don't be afraid to ask. When you've done a really good job for a customer, don't be afraid to ask if they know anybody else that they think could benefit from your services. You really can't be shy about this. And the last thing in terms of teaming up is think about local media, TV, radio, the local paper. These are things that you might think are out of your reach, that wouldn't be interested. However, I'm here to tell you that as media organizations, they are hungry for content. It's a constant with them. But if they don't even know you exist, how are they going to ask you to contribute? So, with your local paper, why don't you send in a press release about some news that you have. And this is not about how wonderful of a company you are, but maybe you've got some local news. Maybe you've opened a new outlet, or you've got a new product on offering, or you helped a little old lady over the road, whatever your story is, and send it into the news desk. Maybe if you've got something that's newsworthy, contact your local radio station. Maybe it's something in the news. I mean, I know a very successful mortgage broker who's got himself out to the radio stations and the local TV stations and national newspapers quite often because he's the only one that sends something out and makes comment on the latest interest rise. So really think about engaging with certainly the local media, especially if your story is local. Maybe you've taken on some new employees, or you've got a trainee program, whatever it may be. Now, I said I'd talk about networking in general. When it comes to networking, either in person or online, a lot of people ask me, look, Miles, what's more effective? And I've got to say, in-person networking is the most effective, okay? People buy from people, see the whites of people's eyes, being in the room, etc. However, online networking can be effective if you put the effort in to make sure that you meet people offline as well. And the last thing with networking is don't flit from one to the other, to the other, to the other. Don't be part of 10 different networks, because quite frankly, you're never going to be able to give enough time to them all to be effective. So I would suggest to pick, if you don't do any, pick just one for now and do it properly. And there are lots of formal networking out there. There'll be a local chamber of commerce. There's even an Essex-wide chamber of commerce. There's BNI. There's Women in Business. There's a Small Business Federation. Federation of Small Business, I should say. And Networking Essex. There's plenty. Pick one, go along, see what it's like, and then see if it's right for you. Not all networking is right for everybody, but if you're going to do it properly. Think about trade federations, being active within a trade federation. Maybe there's a national federation of sign makers, as it were, right? Make sure that you're active. Make sure that you're contributing to their newsletter, because they're wanting content about the latest in sign development or manufacture. Contribute an article towards their newsletter, and they'll be giving you a backlink for your website. As much as, these things are not just about backlinks, but it's about exposure for your company and being a thought leader. Also, the last three here, right? I think people forget about these opportunities because they would tend to see them more as not business and more social. But I would tell you now that I know a lot of business goes on in the golf club. So think about the club that you belong to, and do you talk about what you do? And I don't mean in a salesy way, but, making sure that people within your sports or golf club or your social club know what you do. Maybe you belong to a charity like the Round Table or the Lions. Make sure that you utilize those networks properly. And it's not just about sort of just telling people about your products and services, but maybe asking them what their products and services are to start off with. All right. Giving before you receive, as it were. And then don't forget some of the more formal things like the Masonic Lodge. They like to keep things within their group, or even the local parish council or the Parents and Teachers Association. Think about where you come into contact with lots of people, and do they know what you do? And if they do, maybe you can team up with them. Right, we're doing well on time, Gemma. So I'm going to keep it going. We don't need to be here any longer than we need to be. So tip number 3 is about shouting about it. And look, I'm in marketing, right? And I don't shout about what I do enough. I'm going to urge you to try and think about the fact that people need to hear about you regularly and often. And also think about the fact that you shouldn't give up. So I was talking to Gemma about this before we started, and she said, "Oh, I'm a bit nervous, Miles. I don't know how many people are going to turn up." And I said to Gemma, like, I mean, obviously I care if no one turns up, right? But ultimately, you need to show up and you need to perform like nobody is watching. Even if nobody is watching, you still need to do it. Don't be disheartened when you post on social media and you get very little engagement. Keep posting, keep showing up. The more you post, the more you show up, the more conversations you have, the more likely it is that people will engage with you. Ultimately, it's about building trust. It's about building trust with your audience and about it being the right time within their world for them to engage with you for your products and services. So let's just say today, none of you are at the right time in your business to want a marketing plan or engage with some marketing help. That's absolutely fine. But we've now come into each other's world. And going forward, hopefully, we will continue to be in each other's world so that when you are at the right place and the right time for marketing services, you may well consider me and reach out to me. I'd hope you would, right? And I would say a conversation's always free. But please make sure that you are active. So when it comes to social media, it is a free and a cheap way to get your awareness out there. Now, I use the word awareness. I hate the word brand awareness or the phrase brand awareness. I like to use the word brand engagement, all right? And please think about the word engagement when you do a social media post. When you post on social media, try if you can to add some value to people's day, but ask them sort of a question, as it were. Try and pose something which is going to get people's feedback or at least get them to engage with you. Once they start to engage with you, you can have a conversation. So let me just take Total Sensory UK as an example. When you post on your social platforms, you might want to try, as a way of engaging with people, offering something that's free. I'm not quite sure what it is that you do, right? But I'm going to guess maybe it's sensory toys or products, maybe. So if it is sensory products, maybe you could produce like a top 5 list of sensory products that you can buy today, and maybe asking your socials to comment yes please, and send them this free top 5. Right, maybe that's a bad example, but I'm trying to work with who's in the list. My point being, right, I mean, if I take CFC property maintenance. Now, I know this may sound counterintuitive, but maybe you could compile a top 10 list of jobs a landlord can do to prevent having to call out a maintenance company, right? And I know that you're there to sort of give property maintenance, but by providing your target market with something which they value, all right, something that's free, you're putting yourself in the forefront of their mind for when they do have a bloody emergency and they need your services. Does that make sense? So think about engaging your target, not just making them aware of you. Provide maybe free webinars. So I'm sure a lot of you have got great information to share. When it comes to signage, perhaps there's some things that people can do to try and think about the best place to put a sign, thinking about the optimum size of a sign, thinking about not cluttering things, the best colors for signs, all that sort of stuff. I'm sure there's plenty that you know about within your own niche. Share it, add all that value to your customer base. Podcasts have become extremely popular. And again, they're free to do, right? So think about doing a weekly or a monthly podcast and sharing your expertise. You can link all these things to YouTube. And again, YouTube is owned by Google. It's another ticking the box if the videos on your website are hosted via YouTube. Ultimately, offer a little snippet of what you do, and hopefully this will help share your knowledge within your field and people will engage for you more openly. So in terms of shouting about it, it really is about you being this authority in your field. I know that Gemma is an authority within the field of bookkeeping and that she shares so much lovely advice. When you look at her social media profile, it's all about sharing and giving. And this is not about giving everything away so no one will use her services. She has plenty of customers. This is about reminding people and giving back so that she's in the forefront of people's mind when someone might ask, hey, do you know a bookkeeper? Yes, I do. Gemma, she shares some great tips. Why don't you check her out? So, guest on other people's podcasts and webinars like we're doing today. Contribute to other people's publications and newsletters. There's loads of stuff that you can do that's newsworthy. Maybe write a guest blog, right? Look, I'll say to you now, if you wanted to write a blog, I'll put it on my website for you and you'll get a nice little backlink. Write an article for the local paper, right? What's the worst that could happen? You might be surprised. And there's plenty of stuff out there on the internet about the best way in terms of writing a press release. And if you're stuck, just shout and I'll give you some tips. Don't forget to produce some material to shout about your products and services. Make sure that you've got some kind of leaflet or PDF, either physical or digital, that you can share. When you have a one-to-one meeting with people, and often they're online, it's nice to be able to sort of say after it, look, I'll send you a follow-up email and I'll include my PDF of my products and services. All these things really help when it comes to people remembering exactly what it is that you do. Maybe incentivize or encourage people to recommend you, maybe offering a discount or, scratching each other's back. If you do this, I'll offer you this. Maybe think about cheap merchandise. I don't mean cheap as in cheap. I meant cheap and cheerful, as in they don't cost a lot. But think about merchandise. Think about your branding. Think about things that you can do to keep you in the mind of your target market regularly and often. Mugs specifically are really good giveaways. They don't cost a lot. If you buy them in bulk, it's a few pounds per unit. You can put some messages on there. On this one at the moment, I've got a product message, and then I've got a link to a blog where I wrote 3 daily marketing tasks that you can do for free. So again, offering some advice, some free advice. And what a mug does is a little bit like a pen, is it has dwell time. It sticks around. I mean, I've been networking now for my own business for 4.5 years, and I still meet people that I see them online and they're like, oh, Miles, I've got your mug that you gave me 4 years ago, right? So they do hang around. So think about providing promotional items which are going to have extra dwell time. Think about branded clothing. Again, a one-off t-shirt with your logo on, it goes a long way. It makes you look sort of professional, and it gives you something to wear on Zoom, right? So we're getting to the end of things now, and I just wanted to do a quick recap. Now, remember what the title of the whole thing was. It was low cost or no cost marketing that you can start doing today for free. So the first thing I want you to think of is the fact that you already know the people that you should be talking to regularly and often. If I say one thing today, right, that you need to remember, please, if you don't have a lot of money, stop chasing the people that don't know you and start nurturing the people that do know you. So make sure that you nurture your current database well. If you haven't got a database, start one. Start getting people's email addresses onto a spreadsheet. If you haven't got a CRM, then start thinking about putting them into a customer relationship management system that will allow you to send out emails, send out newsletters, and stay in touch with your database. Think about your staff. Think about giving your staff the training and the tools to understand fully what it is that your business does. Think about your friends and your family. These are the people that love you the most. Make sure that they fully understand what you do. And also be local. If you do work on a trading estate, or even if you work from home, which a lot of us do these days, get yourself out to your local town, walk into the shops, say hello, and share with them your products and services. Leave them a little leaflet. Just spread the word. You never know when someone is going to need your products and services. Secondly, team up. Find yourself a buddies. Find yourself people like you that you get along with, and make sure that you add some value being that expert. Join a network, at least join one network, and do it consistently and do it well. Make sure that, and here's a tip with networks, make sure that you're visible to the person that's running the network. Make sure the person that's running the network knows exactly what you do, because either that person, or there'll be some key noisemakers within any network, they will promote you, right? They will be the person that connects you to Basildon's signs when you need a sign being made. And lastly, shouting about it. So, get yourself on social media. You don't have to post all the time. Post once a week. And if you want to know what the best days to post, then get in touch with me and I'll share that sort of stuff with you. But post valuable content, establishing yourself as an expert in your field, and make sure that you're producing material which backs this up. Okay, that was the recap. Do we have any questions? You're all on mute at the moment. You don't need to put yourself on camera. I'd love to see your faces if you'd like. But if you have any questions, please just ask.
I've got a couple of questions, please.
Sure.
Also, guys, if you don't want to speak, you can put questions in the chat box.
Of course you can. Of course you can.
That option is there. Paid social media advertising, is it worth it?
Right. The short answer for the vast majority of you is no. And the reason why I say this is because you haven't got your ducks in a row to make it worthwhile, right? There's, like anything, like building a house, you have to build the foundations first before you build everything else on top. And I would say that paid advertising is, it's the roof, it's the thing that goes on top. So it is effective, but only when you've done a lot of groundwork, okay? So when it comes to paid advertising, it's really important that you understand the keywords and phrases that you're targeting and the key areas in which you're targeting. It's important that you've got your CRM system sorted out, because the whole point of you advertising is that you're creating inbound leads. And when those leads come to you, you want a way of processing them. And you want to try and do this automatically. So really what you want to happen in an ideal instance is that you do, say, Google Ads, right? And I'm using Google Ads specifically because social media advertising is slightly different, but the same. But let's say Google Ads. So you do the pay-per-click Google Ads. When people click on your advert, you want them to go to a landing page that's associated to your website. And on this landing page, it needs to be completely uncluttered and just have the main salient points as to what the people are looking for, and a call to action. And the call to action basically needs to be them entering their name and email address so that you can follow things up, or that they can buy your product and services straight away. But the point being that you capture their data at that point on the landing page. That data goes into your CRM system, so you're able to see where it came from. So you're able to then measure how effective your advertising campaign has been. And then you're able to nurture that customer. So let's just say that you've got yourself a little pipeline, you put them into the pipeline. Let's say that you want to activate them about your bookmaking services. You could send out an automated response from their initial inquiry, or you could put a phone call in if you captured that information. So it allows you to start to funnel those contacts through the system. On the flip side, Gemma, let's say that you sign up, you get your £400 free, you start doing Google Ads tomorrow without any of the foundation in place. You're just going to be hopeful that people land on your website and they fill out your contact form that they need to click all the way to the contact us bit and go down and fill it in without getting too distracted by everything else on your website. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense.
They are effective, but only when you've done your homework and you've got your processes in place.
Right, okay. Also with Google, so I post an update on my Google business profile thingy. And it's literally, it'll be one of my social media posts, one that's got some kind of, information on it, not salesy. Is that helping my Google ranking?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes, it
is.
So we probably could do a whole nother webinar about Google and getting yourself exposed on Google. It is quite complex, right? However, what I want you to think about is this. The search engine, Google or Bing or whatever, what the search engine's job is to provide the most relevant answers to the questions being asked. And in order for the search engine to do this, it tries to establish whether or not you are an expert, whether or not you're really active. So let's just say that there's two bookkeeper websites. One has been updated every week for the last 6 months, and one hasn't been updated for the last 6 months. Google will recommend the one that's been updated over the one that hasn't, because it just thinks that it's dormant, right? It wants to make sure that it's providing the most up-to-date and relevant information. So by you updating your Google business page every week, even though you don't get any interaction or traction with it, it does help. And when I say it helps, it's just one little, one more tick in a plethora of ticks within the Google algorithm, yeah?
Right, okay, cool, thank you.
I can't believe there's no other questions.
What about, you obviously, we've referred to blogs and newsletters. Now, I know some of my clients are not particularly going to be comfortable writing their own blog.
Yeah.
They'll have the idea of what they would like to write about. What are your thoughts on people using AI in that situation, where it's either they don't write a blog or they write one using AI?
Okay, so there's a lot of misconceptions around AI, and what I would say is don't listen to any of it. All right, AI, well, when it comes to writing blogs, right, AI may well take over the world and all that sort of jazz, but when it comes to writing blogs, I would actively encourage you. When it comes to content creation in general, I would actively encourage you to use a platform like ChatGPT. And what's important to remember about an AI platform is that it's only as good as the information you put into it. So if you want to write this down or make note when you watch the recording back, when you set up a thread within your AI platform, before you do anything, ask it this question, right? And I'm going to sort of paraphrase now. It doesn't really matter exactly what you say, but as long as it's along these lines. So you say something like, I run Basildon Signs Express, and shortly I'm going to ask you to create me a blog, some email templates, and some social media posts. But before I do this, could you ask me a number of questions that I can answer to give you all of the background information that you will need in order to create accurate content for me? Right? Words to those effects. And what it'll do is it'll spew out a list of 10 or 20 questions about you and your business that you answer in detail. You say to the AI, here's the answer to question 1, right? Give it as much information as possible. And what it'll do is it will learn about what it is that you offer. And then when you say to it, write me a blog about the best place to put your sign, or the top 3 colors not to use in your signage, or whatever, right? Whatever the subject may be, it will write you far more accurate content. And then here comes the other caveat. Don't just take it verbatim. Go in and just rewrite little small parts of it to personalize it and make sure that it's right for you. You definitely have to reread it. A lot of the time it will use the American spelling, where it uses, like for personalized, it'll use a Z instead of an S. Go through, make sure that you edit it yourself. But please use AI to create content. It's amazing. Even little things like writing an email. If you've got an important email to write to a client, and perhaps, maybe you're dyslexic, or you just have trouble putting your words into some kind of cohesive manner, drop it into AI and say, please rewrite this, and ask it for a tone, make it formal or make it relaxed, and it'll do it for you. It's really good. And even if it produces something you don't like, say to it, I didn't like that, it's not quite right, please try again, and it will.
I end up talking to it like it's a human being.
Yeah,
oh, thank you for that, but could you do this instead, please?
You absolutely should. Please do. I know it sounds a bit counterintuitive. Treat it like it's a human. Talk to it like it is. Say, no, that's not right. Were you not listening to me? Yeah. Like try again, try harder, and it will. It's good fun.
Okay. One last question from me. Sorry, I'm that annoying person with all the questions.
It's all right.
Your thoughts on old school. So you've mentioned a little bit about leaflets and flyers. So for those that deal with just the general public,
Yep.
What are your thoughts on door-to-door flyering nowadays? And for those that are business to business, putting a pile of leaflets in the local cafe, particularly when you're on an industrial estate, that sort of marketing. Do you think that still works? Is it worth doing for the price of a pack of leaflets?
The short answer is yes. All right. All these things are worth doing, but here's the rub. Don't do things in isolation, right? Don't just do a leaflet drop. Do a number of things. All of these things will add up to more exposure and people seeing your brand and your services. Think about setting up a very simple sort of funnel. I don't want to overcomplicate this, but let's say that you have people in your CRM system, on your computer, that you want to be aware of your products and services, right? So let's just say that Total Sensory, they have a specific target, a person, right? They've done their research. They want to get their products and services into this particular person. Well, why don't they send this person an email introducing themselves? Yeah. Why don't they send this person a letter in the post? An actual letter, handwritten, addressed to this person, introducing their products and services. Why don't they then, a few days later, ring them up and say, hi, I'm sure you got my letter, and they'll either say yes or no, and then there's the conversation starter. You know, here's a really interesting fact. Within my sales funnel, at the end of my sales funnel, I have a telesalesperson that makes the phone calls. And with one of my targets recently, we first reached out to try and make contact on the 1st of February, and I got a meeting with them at the end of April. And when I look back through the thread, and this is what's nice about a CRM system, is you can keep track on how many times you've tried to contact these people. 29 attempts, either via email or phone call, 29 attempts or interactions before I got my meeting. So please just be tenacious with your marketing. Please just keep going. Like I say, if no one's watching, please keep showing up, because what I will guarantee you is if you do nothing, then nothing will definitely happen. So yes to leaflets. Yeah. Yes. 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 You get so many few leaflets through the door now that actually leaflets stand out. But, you know, you do them in conjunction with a social media post or other activity.
Okay, thank you.
Right, I'm gonna do my cheeky bit now and ask you guys for some feedback. This is not a sales pitch, but you've seen behind me that I offer my own services. They are directed at small businesses, so I'm not gonna dwell on this. What I am gonna ask in terms of payment for my time today, I really hope that you've enjoyed what you've heard. If you haven't enjoyed it, I also want to hear, but please don't leave me a crap review, right? Please just let me know. I prefer that. Definitely let's connect on LinkedIn if we haven't already. I'm pretty sure that Tony at Basil & Signs and I are connected. But what I'd ask you to do, Basil & Signs, Jason, and Total Sensory, and anyone else that's watching this on catch up, is take your phones out, take a picture of the QR code, log into Google, and just leave me a nice little Google review, as it will really, really help me out. So that is all from me today. You've not been the chattiest bunch, I've got to say. However, I do hope that you've got something out of this. All of these things that I've spoken about today, you can start doing today. And they have very, very little cost, or in most of the circumstances, no cost at all. And I really hope this helps you start to get some momentum with your marketing.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Miles. And thank you for everyone that's watched today or will watch.
Yeah, thank you all. I will be sending out the recording to Gemma. She'll circulate it to you. If you've got any questions, if you've been too shy to voice them on this, absolutely, please get in touch with me, whatever your preferred communication method is. A chat with me is always free, and we can go from there. Thank you very much indeed, Gemma.
Brilliant. Thank you.
All right, let's stop recording.